Hey, Thomas here, and welcome to an isometric session. This one's a great one because you can do a lot of these seated as well, so this is very good for beginners. These isometrics are, again, great for developing strength. We're going to be focusing on 6-second contractions here. So we're going to be pressing against our hands or an immovable object. So the key thing I want you to think about this here is during the contraction or while you're pressing or pulling here, make sure to breathe nice and slow and controlled. Don't hold your breath on these. We're going to be contracting the muscles as hard as we can, comfortably and safely, and breathing at the same time. And what we're going to see is some great strength gains here. Equipment-wise, I recommend having a yoga block or even a couple of pillows. I'm using a yoga mat folded up here, so that way we can use this for one of these isometric exercises with our legs here. Also, an additional piece of equipment you might want to use is an exercise band. So awesome to have you here. You've been showing up for the sessions. You're here to get results, so I'm going to help get you there. So let's do this. Bring those arms up towards by your head, and we're going to push our hands together as hard as you can comfortably for 6 seconds. Now we're going to switch grips, wrap our hands around, and pull. We're going to pull our hands apart from each other, as strong as you can comfortably. Okay, now we're going to go to the middle of our body, pressing our hands together, getting that contraction. Now we're going to switch, form the pulling motion. We're going to pull our hands apart from each other. Okay, now we're going to switch down to the bottom, prayer hands at the bottom, pressing together. 6 seconds here, press as hard as you can comfortably. Okay, now we're going to switch, wrap those hands, and pull away from your hands. Okay, now we're going to go onto the ground or perform the alternative. We're going to cross the legs and press those legs into each other. This is going to get a nice isometric contraction with both the legs. Now we're going to switch, perform the opposite cross leg, and press again. Hold here. Make sure to breathe. Okay, now we're going to switch. Grab that yoga mat, those pillows, put them in between your legs here. We're going to press into the yoga block here. Then relax and switch. Now we're going to go into our isometric plank. Now I want you to hold this plank, but I want you to squeeze your feet and your hands together. So we're going to get a big ab contraction, a nice ab contraction here by squeezing together like this, squeezing them in together. We're going to rest for 2 minutes here, so take this time to grab some water, to relax, and then also if you want to get some cardio in, what I like to do is I like to do jump rope, some shadow boxing here. Do your thing. We're going to be resting for 2 minutes and then continuing on. Now, during this rest, I just want to touch on some of the technique points here. Since we're going through these exercises pretty quickly, make sure to use those alternatives if you need to. If you prefer sitting down, you can do it seated. You can use those bands for those leg exercises to focus on the quads and the hamstrings, getting that isometric contraction. And as you get the rhythm of this on these next rounds, you're going to have the hang of it, and you're going to be feeling even better on these contractions here. All right, let's get back to it. Let's put those hands above our head, get those prayer hands going, and just press into each other here. Try to have straight arms. If you're not able to have straight arms, that's okay. The key thing is you want to make sure your shoulders are nice and comfortable. Okay, now we're going to wrap the hands and pull, pulling away from each other. Now we're going to bring it down to the middle, pressing into each other here, pressing into the hands, prayer hands here, keeping those shoulders nice and relaxed in their sockets. Okay, now we're going to switch grips, pull away from each other now. Then we're going to switch and go down to the bottom, pressing those prayer hands, pressing at the bottom, shoulders relaxed. Now we're going to switch grips, pull away from each other, pull those hands away. Okay, now we're going to go into our cross leg position, pressing into the legs here. It's going to target those legs. Now we're going to switch, form the opposite cross legs. Holding here. Okay, now we're going to grab that yoga blocker, that yoga mat, between our legs. Squeeze here, really get that contraction. Perfect. Now we're going to go into our plank. Finish off strong here, pressing those elbows and the toes in towards each other. We can also perform the alternative, which is the stand-up version. All right, now we're going to rest for 2 minutes. Again, you can do that cardio. If you want, you can grab some water. Let me just touch on the plank alternative. So you saw the plank. There's also the stand-up ab crunch, and we can do the seated as well. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to tuck our butt under to make sure to really activate the abs, and we're going to round our back almost like a hollow position, and we're going to consciously contract the abs as we breathe out. It's a great little exercise that requires a little amount of effort. So I just want to touch on that as we're going through this rest here. If you had any questions on the alternative for that, and then we'll be back on it here in just a couple minutes. All right, let's get back to it. Last round. Press those hands above the head. We're going to hold this for 6 seconds or a little bit longer. Keep those shoulders down in their sockets. Okay, now we're going to switch grips, pull away from each other now. Okay, now we're going to move to the middle, pressing those hands toward each other. Switch grips, pull away from each other. Then we're going to switch and go down to the bottom, pressing those prayer hands. Now we're going to switch grips, pulling away from each other. And now we're going into the leg cross isometric, so we're crossing the legs. Now with this, you're pulling and pushing away with your quads and your hamstrings. Okay, now we're going to switch, go into the opposites, legs pressing into each other. Okay, now we're going to switch, grabbing that yoga mat or yoga block, putting it between our legs and squeezing here. Now we're going to our plank or to our ab isometric, squeezing them together, holding there, put it all you got. 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 Put it all you All right, great little session there. And this is one of those sessions you might not feel sore directly after this, but your body's getting a lot of work here. So awesome job today, and I'll see you in the next session.